Okay, so when you're factoring something like this is called a trinomial. Why do we call it a trinomial? Because it's 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. And it has to be x squared, x, and then a constant. What do? We write an x at the beginning of each bracket. And after that, how do I figure out the numbers that are going to go in here? The numbers that are going to go in here, they have to multiply to the constant. So they have to multiply to give me -10. And they have to add to the number besides the x. So the 2 numbers, they have to add to give me -3. So now you have to look for 2 numbers that multiply to give you -10. So definitely when they multiply to give you negative, one of them is going to be negative and one of them is going to be positive. So they multiply to give you -10 and add to give you -3. The combination is 5 and 2. Now, how you're going to get -3 when you add them is to make that 5 negative. Because -5 times 2 will give you -10, and -5 plus 2 will give you -3. And therefore, these are your answer: x minus 5, x plus 2. And also, if you take this and FOIL it, you will get this back. The same thing here, x, 2 numbers multiply to give me 5 and add to give me 6. So I don't have to do this all the time. Now I know it multiplies to give me 5 and add to give me 6. I have only one option that multiplies to give me 5. It's 5 and 1. I don't have any other option. So therefore, it's going to be +5 and +1. Because when you multiply them, you get +5, and when you add them, you get 6. How about this? I write an x here and an x here. So what multiplies to give me -12 and add to give me, not x, it add to give me -1. There's a 1 here, invisible 1 that's supposed to be here. But what multiplies to give me -12 and add to give me -1? That's -4, +3, because -4 times +3 gives me -12, and -4 plus 3 gives me -1, which is here. So when we're doing something like this, as I said, always, the first thing you look for when you're factoring is the greatest common factor, because that's the first thing we do when we're studying factoring. Do we have a greatest common factor here? We definitely do. We have 2 as the greatest common factor. Then I'm going to get x squared here plus 2x minus 15. And after that, you carry the 2, and then this factors, you open 2 set of brackets. What multiplies to give me -15 and add to give me 2? It's definitely x plus 5, x minus 3, because 5 times -3 gives me -15, and 5 minus 3 will give me +2. This here, -3 is the greatest common factor, and we're going to get x squared minus 1x. We don't need to write the 1 there. Oops, when we factor out negative, that's going to be plus. You remember, negative is a sign changer. And +18 divided by -3 will give me -6. And therefore, this will give me -3, open 2 set of brackets. What multiply to give me -6, and what adds to give me +1. Remember, there's a 1 there. So that will be x plus 3, x minus 2, because 3 times -2 will give me -6. And +3 minus 2 will give me +1, which is here. Any questions? If you have any questions, ask now, please, because the factoring is going to get a little bit more challenging now. So far, we've just been doing the easy stuff. So with this one, the first thing we want to do here is always look out if you have a greatest common factor. If you do, take it out right away. So here, 2 is the greatest common factor. And you have m squared plus 9mn plus 18. Now, sorry, you have the n squared. That's what I thought. I forgot something. And you have the n squared here. Okay. So first thing, you open 2 set of brackets, and you put m and m, because you have m squared, you have to put m at the beginning of each brackets. But also we have an n squared at the end of this bracket. So you have to put an n here and an n there. Now you're looking for two numbers that multiply to give me positive 18 and add to give me 9. That's going to be plus 6 plus 3, because 6 times 3 gives me 18. 6 plus 3 gives me 9. And that's the answer. Now, always know, you could always go back and double check your answers. How we double check our answers? By foiling all of this and then putting the 2 right through, and we should get this back, what we started off. Well, okay. Now, the next question right here, again, I'm going to take out 3 as the greatest common factor. I'm going to get x squared minus 3 divided by 3 is 1. So just 1 xy, and we don't need to write the 1 there because it's invisible. Minus 60 divided by 3 is 20 y squared. Now look at how easy it is. You open 2 set of brackets. X squared in here, put an x here and x here. And since I have a y squared here, I have to put a y here and a y here. Now I'm looking for 2 numbers that multiply to give me negative 20 and add to give me negative 1. That's a negative 1. So the 2 numbers that multiply to give me 20 is 10 and 2. The difference is 8. I'm not going to use that. And 4 and 5, yes, the difference between 4 and 5 is 1. So I'm going to put 5 there and 4 here. Now I have to decide which one is negative and which one is positive. Definitely that's negative, that's positive. Negative 5 times positive 4 is negative 20. But negative 5 plus 4 gives me negative 1. And that's the more important, because you could say that's negative 4 and that's positive 5. When you multiply them, yes, you get negative 20. But if you add them, you're going to get positive 1 instead of negative 1. And that's why this cannot be the right answer. Okay, so let's go to the next question. So some students find it easier to let m equal x plus 1. So they could write this as m squared, because x plus 1 is m. So it's going to be m squared minus 2m minus 8. They factor this first, and that factors into m minus 4, m plus 2. And then they go back and take the x plus 1, put it in for the m here and the m here. But some students, they could just see that this term here is x plus 1. That's the squared term. So they just do this. And then this x plus 1, that's what they put in at the beginning. And then they look for 2 numbers that multiply to give you negative 8 and add to give you negative 2. So it'll be negative 4 and plus 2. Then they should realize that these brackets now have no purpose whatsoever, so we don't need to keep them. And therefore, your final answer is x minus 3 and x plus 3. Plus 1 minus 4 is negative 3. And plus 1 plus 2 is 3. And that's what they give there. If you want to finish this off right here, then you know the m is supposed to be x plus 1. So you just write x plus 1 minus 4 and x plus 1 for the m right here plus 2. And that's what that is. And it gives you this right here. So both ways, whichever way you're more comfortable with, go for it and do it. Here, I think most students are more comfortable letting a variable, for instance, it doesn't matter, m, k, whatever you want to use. It doesn't have to be m, but m looks nice. Let m equal x minus 1. Therefore, now I could rewrite this question as 2m squared, because m is x minus 1 and then squared, minus 2m minus 12. This here, I have to take out the greatest common factor, which is 2. And I end up with m squared minus 1m minus 6. And then I factor this into two set of brackets. I put an m in each, two numbers that multiply to give me -6 and add to give me -1. It's -3 and +2. They multiply to give me -6 and add to give me -1. After that, I have to go back and sub in the x minus 1 back in for the m. So this will give me 2 brackets, x minus 1 for the m. I don't even have to put the x minus 1 in bracket since there's nothing in here. -3. And I have the m, which is x minus 1, and then +2. And therefore, my final answer would be 2. That's x minus 4. And that is x plus 1. Any questions about this? So in these kind of questions here, you have a 4, but you cannot take out the 4 as the greatest common factor because it's not a factor of the 7 and it's not a factor of the 3. So you cannot take it out as the greatest common factor. When that's the case, a shortcut that I do, some students like doing decomposition, but this is different from decomposition. It's a lot faster. So I multiply the 4 into the 3 here. So what I end up getting, I get x squared minus 7x plus 12. But the 4 that you multiplied into the 3, just put a circle around it because at the end, when you factor this, you have to divide both numbers by this 4. So keep track of this 4. What multiplies to give me 12 and add to give me -7? It's -4 minus 3. Multiply them, you get +12. You add them, you get -7. Now I said keep track of the 4. Now these two numbers, you have to divide them by that 4. That's going to give me x minus 1. But here it doesn't factor. So you put the 4, it doesn't divide, sorry. So you put the 4 right in front of the x there. So it becomes 4x minus 3. Please do this second one. And when you finish it, most likely, this is going to be the end of our session today. Okay, so to do this here, the first thing you do, multiply the 6 into the 5. So this becomes x squared minus 31x plus 30. But remember that 6, I said, make sure you put it inside a little circle like this because at the end, you have to divide both numbers by that 6. What numbers multiply to give me +30 and add to give me -31? It's x minus 30, x minus 1, because -30 times -1 will give me +30. -30 plus -1 will give me -31. And now I have to divide both of these by 6. 30 divided by 6 is 5, so that's going to be x minus 5. And this doesn't divide, so I just stick the 6 in front of the x, and I get 6x minus 1. Okay. Now, who's seen this method for the first time? Taha, Marianne, Nigar. Did you see this method for the first time, or you've seen it before? Okay. So this is it. I think I'll tell you something though. You know, when I edit this video and send it to you guys, anyone who struggled with this, watch it. If you know you could do it, pause it, do it, and then go play it again and see if you get the same answer as I did. Or if you watch this as an example and then make sure you do this one without watching the answer and make sure you get the right answer. That's my advice to you. I know some students struggle with math. Math is not as natural for them. And you know, that's common for a lot of students. The ones that struggle with math, there's one simple answer. You have to work a lot harder than the average student. And guess what? Every student struggles with one subject or another. So there's a subject that they have to work extra hard at than other subjects. So that's my advice. hard work pays off. If you work hard enough, you will eventually get it, and it becomes a lot easier. But anyways, if you don't have any questions, we'll call it a night. Yeah. All right. So free to go if you don't have any questions. You guys have a good evening, and I'll see you next week, inshallah.